Good morning, welcome to Thursday's Maths. Today's skill is to use percentages as fractions and decimals. I hope you're all ready to learn. Just 2 days left of this week, so not much longer guys, keep going. So today's arithmetic, you've got 8 times tables for your bronze, subtraction for your silver, and gold challenge, you need to convert the mixed numbers to improper fractions. Okay, if you remember how to do those, so we've got a whole number here, you times the whole number with the denominator, add on the numerator. Okay, and then that will be your numerator and your denominator stays the same. So good luck with that. Try your best and come back when you're ready for the answers. Okay, here are your answers. I've given you 2 options for your goal challenge because I've simplified some. Okay, as always, if you haven't simplified them, I've got the for number 5, you've got the answer of 32 tenths. That is still correct. Okay, it can just be simplified. Okay, excellent. So let's recap. Match the statement to the correct percentage. So the first one says Violet scored 82 out of 100 on a recent maths test. So 82 out of 100. Dante scored 6 out of 10 on a recent spelling test. And Genevieve scored 40 out of 50 on a recent music exam. So which is which? Think about the percentages. So let's start with the first one. Violet scored 82 out of 100 on a recent maths test. Now we know that out of 100 is a percentage. So Violet scored 82. Have we got 82%? We have. Dante scored 6 out of 10 on a recent spelling test. Okay, so we know that 6 out of 10, if we need to get it out of 100 because it's a percentage, we know that that is an equivalent fraction and we can times both the numerator and denominator by 10, which will give us 60 out of 100, which of course is 60%. And then we know that Genevieve scored 40 out of 50 on a recent music exam. Okay, if a percentage needs to be out of 100, we've got 50, which we can times by 2 to get 100, which means we need to times the 40 by 2 to get to 80%, 80 out of 100. Okay, let's see if we can do this one then. So match the fractions to the equivalent decimal and percentage. So the fractions are A, B and C. You need to match them to both the decimal and percentage. So let's start with the first one. So we've got 62 hundredths. What is 62 hundredths as a decimal? Okay. So you've got the choice of 0.54, 0.19 or 0.62. We know that's 0.62. And then have we got 62% as a percentage? We have indeed. Let's look at B. 54 hundredths. How do we represent that as a decimal? Okay, so you've got 0.54 or 0.19. We know that's 0.54. And then we can see that we've got 19% or 54%. So we know it's 54. And then we've got 38 out of 200. Oh, but we haven't got 0.38. Why is that? What's happened here? What can we do? Or what do we need to do? Okay, so if you notice, C is 38 out of 200. Okay, so we need to do a percentage, we need it out of 100. So we can divide both the numerator and denominator by 2, which will give us 19 hundredths, which would then be the same as 0.19 and 19%. If you look carefully at the decimals and the percentages, what do you notice? So here you've got 0.54 and 54%. 0.19, 19%, 0.62 and 62%. Okay, so the decimal is out of 100. So if it was 100, it would give us one whole. So this is 19 parts of 1. Okay, so it's 19th, which is the same as 19%, because 100% is a whole. Okay, which representation is the odd one out? Okay, so we have got our 100 square here, 25%, 25 over 200, 2/10 and 5/100 and 0.25. Okay, have a quick think. Which one is the odd one out? Okay, hopefully you would have noticed that the odd one out is 25 over 200, because 25% is 25 over 100. Here we've got 25 out of 100 on the square. This represents 0.25, and then we've got 0.25 as a decimal. So this one, if we actually divided it by 2 to get to 100, it would be 12.5%. So that's not right. That's the odd one out. What about this one? So which representation is the odd one out here? So have a think. See if you can identify the odd one out. Okay, so we have got 50%, 50 hundredths, we've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 colours, 50 blocks shaded in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that's 0.5, and then we've got 0.05. So the odd one out is 0.05, because 0.05 is the same as 5%, 5 blocks, 5 hundredths. Okay, it's not 50. Okay, over to you. Have a go at completing this table. Okay, so if you're at home and you haven't got access to a printer, that's fine. You can just draw a table, okay, and don't worry too much about the pictorial if you are drawing it out. Okay, you can just write the table, or you can print it from the resources if it's easier. Okay, so you are, for each box, so for each row, you've got a pictorial representation. You then need to write how many parts per 100 and the percentage, the fraction, and then the decimal. Okay, so some of them have been done for you and some of the boxes are empty. So have a go at doing that. Pause the video and come back when you're ready to move on. Okay, good job. So let's have a little think. So Mrs. Wisner has read 25 pages of her magazine. Her magazine has 50 pages. What proportion of her magazine has she read? Now let's read that again carefully. So Mrs. Wisner has read 25 pages of her magazine. Okay, so we know that she's read 25. Her magazine has 50 pages. What proportion of her magazine has she read? So we know that she has read 25 out of the 50 pages. Can you give your answer as a percentage and a decimal? Now, we've got 25 out of 50, 25 fiftieths. What do we need to do to work out a percentage? Okay, we need the denominator to be 100. So how can we make 25 fiftieths over 100? Okay, well we've times the denominator by 2. So we had 50, we need 100. 50 times 2 is 100. And whatever we do to the denominator, when we're looking at equivalent fractions, we do to the numerator. So we times that by 2. which gives us 50 hundredths, which could also be simplified, but we'll leave it at that for a minute because we need our percentage. So 50 hundredths is the same as 50%, and as a decimal it would be 0.50. Do we need that 0 on the end? No, so it can just be 0.5. Okay, so our answer as a percentage is 50% and a decimal is 0.5. We know that 50% and 0.5 is the same as half. And if you notice, 25 is half of 50. Okay, Mr. Moore has read 11 pages of his newspaper. The newspaper has 25 pages. What proportion of the newspaper has he read? So let's have a look. So we know that Mr. Moore has read 11 pages of his newspaper. That shouldn't be there. The newspaper has 25 pages. That's what it should look like. So we've got 11 pages out of 25. Now, what do we need to do? I've just given you a really big clue there. What do we need to do? Okay, so can we give our answer as a percentage and a decimal? So we've got 11 over 25, but we need it to be out of 100. Okay, so what do we need to do? How do we get from 25 to 100? Well, we know 25 times 4 is 100 because we've got 25, 50, 75, 100. So if we've times the denominator by 4, we need to do the same with the numerator. 11 times 4 is 44. I'm not sure why that appeared up here, but still. So we've got 44 over 100. Can we answer that as a percentage now? Yes, we can. 44 hundredths is the same as 44%. And as a decimal, what's it going to be? 0.44. Okay, one more then. Mrs. Coleman has read 66 pages of her book. Her book has 200 pages. What proportion of the book has she read? So we know that I've read 66 pages of my book, and my book has 200 pages. So we've got 66 over 200. So let's do the same thing. So we've got 66 over 200, but we can't find a percentage like that because we need it to be over 100. So we're going to change that. This time I don't need to times my denominator because it's greater than 100. So I actually need to divide it. I've got 200, but I need 100, so I can divide that by 2. Which means I need to divide my numerator by 2. So 66 divided by 2 is 33. Now I've got a fraction over 100, so I can answer that as a percentage. So 33 hundredths is 33. And what's it going to be as a decimal? 0.33. Well done if you followed along. Okay, now it's over to you. So have a go at recording these fractions as decimals and percentages. Okay, so it's just the same as what we've been doing with our books and magazines and newspapers. Okay, so you can write it out just like it is at the bottom. Okay, so the first one you're going to write 6 over 25. Then you can write equals, and then you need to write the fraction which is over 100. That will then give you the percentage and help you with the decimal. Okay, so pause the video now, have a go at that, and come back to me when you're ready to move on. Okay, so final thought for today then. There are 200 sweets in a jar. Ben takes 2/5 of the sweets. Hannah takes 35% of the sweets. How many does each child have? Okay, so there are 200 sweets in a jar. Ben takes 2/5 of the sweets. So let's do that part first. Okay, so obviously if you want to pause the video now and have a go, that's great. That's what you should be doing, but I'm going to go through it for you as well. So we know, because we've done this already, to find fractions of an amount. Okay, so we've got 200 sweets and our denominator is 5, so we need to divide 200 by 5. Okay, it can be a little bit tricky, but we know 20 divided by 5 is 4, so 200 divided by 5 is 40. Okay, we're then going to times 40 by 2 because that's our numerator, which tells us that Ben has eaten 80 sweets. Okay, so we had 2/5 of 200, so we divided 200 by 5, gave us 40, and then we times that by 2, which gave us 80. Okay, and then we're going to look at Hannah. Hannah had 35% of the sweets. Okay, we know that we've got 200 sweets, but we need to find 35%. So how many is that going to be? Okay, so if we've got 35%, we know that that needs to be out of 100. Okay, so 35% is 35 out of 100. But because we've got 200 sweets, we need to double that. Okay, so if we double the numerator and the denominator, it gives us 70 out of 200. So how many sweets did Hannah have? Okay, Hannah had 70 sweets. So Ben had 80, Hannah has 70. How many sweets are left in the jar? Okay, well, if there were 200 sweets in the jar, Ben had 80, Hannah had 70, that equals 150, which must mean there were 50 sweets left in the jar. What percentage is this? So there's 50 sweets left, but there were 200. What percentage is that? Okay, so 50 can go into 200 4 times. Okay, so that's 25%. There's 25% of the sweets left. Well done if you managed that. That was a little bit tricky at the end. And I've just said the word tricky. Don't. Okay, I got so far right up until the final thought and I just said it and I'm really annoyed with myself now. Oh, and I'm in the bubble today and I know straight away Archie will probably have just told me that I've said it, so I now have to write it on the board. Okay, so well done for your hard work today. The answers for your independent practices will be on the resources if you need them at home. Well done. Enjoy the rest of your day and I shall see you in the morning for maths again. But it will be Friday, so it's all good. Okay guys, take care. Bye.